Hi there, and welcome back to Founders Journal. My name is Toby, and I am the founder of this ENTIFY project. And this is really quite an unusual project, and it's very difficult to even explain what this is and where this could go. But the long-term goal of this project is, it's really mind-blowing. It could change the whole world. Everything about the world could change based on this project. But in the beginning, again, it doesn't seem like much, but it is. It is. So now I've got to the stage where I think the website is finished, is good enough. So the website is basically done, and I've got all the white papers up there. I may make some adjustments to the white papers, but they're pretty much done. There's quite a few of them because there's a lot going on. And now I think I'm at the stage where we can really start. We can actually begin this. So far this has all been planning, thinking, trying to work out what this could be, how we could get there. But now I think we can start. So what are we going to do? This is the roadmap. Now, the foundation of this whole thing starts with the creation of our identity. Again, this seems like, yeah, what's that? What's the point of that? Again, it's a big deal. What is the point of creating our own identity? Because the identity really is to do with law. It's to do with the law. And the whole world, this whole let's call it the matrix that we live in, this whole construction, corporate world that we live in is based on law. It's really based on legal. And that is words, that is wording, paperwork. And our identity that we have to create is essentially wording. We have to create a lawful and a legal document. And if we can do this correctly, again, we need this correctly. If we can do this correctly, this will be the foundation that allows us to change the world. Again, it's a long-term goal. So now I think we're ready to do it. And then in practice, how do we build this into technology? Because again, the technology is the other thing. If we can get the law right, and we've now got the technology, we can build the technology to create a new infrastructure, then we can change the world, step by step by step. So this identity is built upon an affidavit, the most powerful document in law. So the very first thing we have to do is create the affidavit, the wording, the correct words. And we have to be so clever that whatever we do must be transparent. I must be able to show this to the government, to the bank, to the regulators. If I cannot show it to the regulators, the financial, the legal regulators, then there's no way we could go global. It just becomes another niche, sort of sovereign citizen movement thing, which they disregard. So it must be transparent, and yet it must also hold within it the seed, the power to change everything. So this is how clever it has to be. We must be able to be transparent, show it to everyone, the government, and the government must look at it and say, okay, that's fine, we like that. And yet, the real sovereign movement, the real freedom fighters must also be able to look at this and say, yes, okay, with this we can create a new world. So the very first step has also got to be the most clever step. So I've been working on this. And okay, let's, before I tell you about that, the roadmap. Okay, how do we do this in technology? So we've got the hardware. By now you must know the project. If you don't know the project, please check out the website. So to build the hardware for this is going to take money. But we don't need the hardware yet. You see, we can do this all with software. So the first step will be to create the affidavit identity. Now the second step is to create the identity vault. And we can do that on an existing blockchain. So we're going to use Solana. Solana is now one of the biggest blockchains, widely accepted. Yes, it is regulated. That means the government, the financial regulators accept it. That's fine. It is still perfectly cryptographic. You still cannot break into it. See, this is the balance. It must be acceptable, but totally private. This is the balance we've got to find. So we can use Solana, a Solana wallet, a blockchain wallet, and in that wallet we can create our identity, which will be the affidavit, together with KYC, know your customer. That is the government identity. We need that as well. So we can have this. So that's only software based. Now once we've got this identity vault on a Solana wallet, we then must connect that to our private chat. So again, the whole thing, ENTIFY, is built on communication, and we're working on this. We're building a private chat, decentralized, built on Reticulum. So for those of you who know, Reticulum is the most advanced decentralized chat so far. And Nicholas in BChat Networks, who I'm working with, together with, he's developing Reticulum chat to the next level. He is now arguably the world's foremost person pushing Reticulum up to its highest potential. So we will have this Reticulum-based chat, but what we have to do is connect it to a Solana wallet and make it exclusive. So then we can have a chat network, but exclusive only to people that have got this identity vault in a Solana wallet. So once you've created your identity, this affidavit, you've signed it, then you have access to the chat network. And then this can be downloaded onto any phone. First of all, any phone. So that makes it relatively cheap and usable. But remember, still exclusive. So we will have maybe start off with say 50 or 100 users only. And these will come from the sovereign project or the sovereign movement around the world. So people that understand the power of the affidavit, they must fully understand it and sign it, so they know what they're doing. And once we've got this, then we can also integrate banking. So we're working on this IPC Limited. IPC is either International Processing Center Limited, but I think we might change the name to Internal Private Clearing. So this is a private financial administration that will allow us to administer to the bank privately. So we can have an anonymous bank account. But remember, it's not completely anonymous because it will only work if we have KYC. So this is again, so it's like the whole system in the end, but we're starting it at the beginning. So this could be the roadmap. First of all, we create the affidavit and the KYC, then we load that up onto a Solana wallet, and that gives us exclusive access to our private decentralized chat and our private banking system. So first of all, we'll have say 50 or 100 users practicing using it. Once we've got that, then we can demonstrate that it works, and we can go to the government, the financial regulators, and show them, look, this is what we're doing. And we must be completely transparent so that they can see everything, literally everything we're doing, and sign off and say, yep, okay, we understand that, that's fine, you do it. So we've got to be so clever. If there's anything that looks like we are being rebellious, we're trying to break the system, they won't let us do it. And then we cannot go global. Remember, for ENTIFY to have its full potential, it must be mainstream and it must go global. And for that, it must be accepted by every government, every regulator in every country of the world. And at the same time, inside that must have the seed, the potential to change it all. So that means when we are ready, we can use ENTIFY to push back. But we cannot push back until we have, say, I don't know, 1 million users. Once we've got 1 million users across the world, then we can push back and do something. But we must be patient. It's going to take time to get there. So, but like I said, we can now start. I think we can start. And the way we've got to construct this affidavit is using something called controlled natural language. You see, this is lawful and it is legal. But if we use legal uses its own language, which is legalese. And legalese is very difficult, very crafty. It's a tricky language. Legalese sounds like English, it looks like English, but it is not English. And legalese is really the language that has created the matrix that we live in. It has tricked us all because we don't understand it. And this is the way we have all been led down, we have all been controlled because of legalese. We sign contracts and we don't understand the contracts. So the sovereign experts, they know legalese, and that's what they're trying to do. Break through, push back against this manipulative language. But if we use controlled natural language, that is not legalese. So we are outside the jurisdiction of legalese, for want of a better word. So when we create this affidavit, it's going to be very clear that this is written in controlled natural language, not legalese. Therefore, it cannot be interpreted as legalese. So that's the first clever thing we have to do. But controlled natural language is everyone can understand it. It's very simple English, but not legalese. And a computer can understand it. So this is where we're going to be clever, because the affidavit will also be translated into computer language, therefore cryptographically blended into the ENTIFY identity. This is unique, never been done before. We're basically creating an identity, signing it, and then cryptographically turning it into this blockchain system. So the affidavit, let me give you an idea what this could be. So this is only the first idea. And again, now working with ChatGTP, because ChatGTP is a computer language, and it knows a lot about this. Surprisingly, it knows a lot about this. And it's telling me what I've got to do. Again, you see, the thing is, we need to use the birth certificate name. And that is all done in legalese. We need to use what they have created for us. And because they have created this for us in legalese, in this corporate language, we don't have control. So somehow we have to gain control of this legal identity without them realizing that's what we're doing. So it's a clever, delicate thing. And what I'm going to have to do is create several drafts of this. then I'm going to have to sit down with the sovereign project and other sovereign people that understand this, experts, top lawful legal experts, and work out the full wording. It's all about the words that we use. Once we get it right, then we've got the seed, the real beginning of this. So, for example, you see, we have to be very clear. I'll just take you through it. You see, controlled natural language, what is it? It's plain English, short sentences, one meaning per sentence, no metaphors, no implied claims, no, no emotional language, no magical or sovereign citizen phrasing. Again, it must not appear like we're trying to break out the system. No. If we're trying to break out the system and we say that straight away, they'll just shut us down. They'll just say, no, that's illegal, you can't do it. It must not be illegal in any way. So, controlled natural language will allow the affidavit to be human readable, machine passable, which means a computer can understand it, legally reviewable. It means we can show it to the government. The government can look through and say, yep, all right, we accept that. Cryptographically hashable. We've got to blend it into the cryptography. And it must be consistent across jurisdictions. Everywhere in the world, it must be acceptable. So, in ENTIFY, CNL, Controlled Natural Language, serves 3 simultaneous audiences. 1, the human signer, the living being. I must understand what I'm signing. 2, the court or the regulator, the government. They must find it acceptable. And 3, the cryptographic system. The machine code must be able to integrate the language. Otherwise, there's a separation layer. So this is why ENTIFY's affidavit is not ideology. Again, we must distinguish ourselves from the sovereign movement. It's not ideology. It's not philosophy. We're not trying to break the system. No, it is infrastructure. This is computer code. This is technology. That's why it's so clever. And we also have to be clear what the affidavit is and is not. What it is a self-issued declaration of responsibility, a statement of intent, authorship, and accountability, a trust-creating instrument. We are creating a trust when we do this for ourselves, a private trust, a lawful identity anchor, and a cryptographic root of authority. And what it is not. Okay, this has got to be careful. This is what it must not be. It is not a rejection of law. It is not a denial of government authority. It is not a claim that statutes do not apply. The law doesn't apply to me. No. It is not a get out of tax, court, or debt document. No. Remember, this cannot be anything that appears to be breaking the system. Cannot be. Or else we cannot go global. This distinction is essential to avoid attracting criminals or triggering the regulators. Remember, whatever we do must be perfectly open. The government must look at it and say, yep, that's fine, you can do it. So now, about the birth certificate name. This is very important. This is where many systems fail, and pretty much all of them fail. Because, okay, this is what we can say. This is lawful. We can say the birth certificate name is an administrative legal identifier. That's all it is. It is used for public administration. That's all it is. You are the living individual associated with it. That's all it is. It's not us. It's a public administrative tool, and we are associated with it. You authorize its limited use for compliance, KYC or banking, but you do not merge it with your private identity. You create a separation. This is where we're going to be clever. But what we must not claim, got to be careful, we must not claim this, that the birth certificate is a corporation that you own. No, we do not own it. We did not create it, we do not own it. That the government has no authority. If we cannot go against the government asking for trouble. That laws do not apply. Laws don't apply to me, cannot say that. That you can revoke citizenship unilaterally. You cannot say, I'm out of here. Cannot say that. Remember, we've got to be clever. ENTIFY's power comes from precision, not confrontation. Remember, it's going to take a while to get this right. And about KYC, how to say this correctly. ENTIFY's affidavit should say something like this. The KYC exists. Yes, it does. The KYC is lawful. The KYC is required for regulated interfaces. The KYC data is sealed and purpose limited. The KYC does not define the individual. This is where we've got to be clever. It means this makes ENTIFY compliance compatible, not adversarial. We're not fighting the system, but we're being very, very clever. So this is an example, only an example. So the self-issued identity affidavit in controlled natural language. So let me read through it quickly so you get an idea. Number 1, I am a living human being. We can also say living man or woman. We'll come to that. But remember, this is not legalese. Human being means something different in legalese. This is not illegalese. So we can say this. 1, I am a living human being born alive on the date recorded below. 2, I act with full capacity and sound mind. 3, I make this affidavit voluntarily and without coercion. 4, I declare that I am the sole author and owner of my personal identity. 5, I accept full responsibility for my actions, decisions, and obligations. 6, I declare a private identity known as my living identity. 7, this living identity is defined by my conscious intent and my biometric existence. 8, I acknowledge the existence of a legal name recorded at birth. 9, this legal name is an administrative identifier used by public authorities. 10, I am the living individual to whom this identifier refers. 11, I do not deny the lawful use of this legal name for public administration. 12, I authorize its limited use for compliance, including identity verification and KYC. 13, this authorization is conditional and purpose specific. 14, my living identity is distinct from any administrative identifier. 15, my living identity is not created by the state. 16, my living identity cannot be transferred or owned by another party. 17. I declare that all personal data, biometric data, and identity records relating to me are subject to my authorship. 18. I assert copyright and authorship over my biometric expressions where applicable by law. 19. I declare that this affidavit constitutes the foundation of a private identity trust. 20. I am the settler and primary beneficiary of this trust. 21. This trust exists for lawful purposes only. 22. This trust does not exist to evade law, regulation, or obligation. 23. I consent to lawful compliance when required by due process. 24. I do not consent to unlawful surveillance, coercion, or misrepresentation. 25. I authorize the cryptographic representation of this affidavit. 26. I authorize the binding of this affidavit to secure cryptographic keys. 27. I acknowledge that cryptographic control implies responsibility. 28. I affirm that false statements in this affidavit may carry legal consequences. 29. I affirm this declaration is made in good faith. 30. I sign this affidavit as a living human being, or we can say living man or woman. And then we sign it, signature, and hash reference. There will be a cryptographic thing there also. So this is only a draft, a first idea. And like I said, this is going to take a while to get this wording right. I'm going to have to sit down with a few top experts and work through this. But I wanted to give you an idea of how serious this is. And if we get this right, then we have really started this project. Because the technology is here, we can do it. And we can do something, like I said, on Solana, software-based only, relatively cheap. Then we start, and then we can raise money. Once we can do this, once we have passed the regulators, we need to get regulators, government sign-off, then we can raise money and we can build the technology to do this. But remember, the long-term goal, we need 1 million users across the globe. Then we can do something serious. And I've talked about this before. But on the website, I'm not going to talk too much about it. But I want you guys to know, the vision of this is to change the world. And it's going to take a while, but it is now possible to do. And we are now very close to the very first step. And this is the first step. So it's quite exciting. And I hope you can see what I'm trying to do. So please do leave me any questions or comments, and check out the website now. I think it's basically finished, and have a look at the white papers. So for those of you that are expert, the white papers you can read through and see how this is real. There's something real going on here. So thank you so much again, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode of Founders Journal.